Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Watch Dearest TV. I'm back with another review, and this one is of The Handmaid's Tale, Season 5, Episode 3, Border. If you like The Handmaid's Tale TV show, like, comment, subscribe, share this video, comment below, all that stuff. I'll be doing review of all things The Handmaid's Tale. I know it's been a while since I've done a review of this. I'm kind of far behind on this season, so I'm going to do a quick binge watch every episode and do a review of each one. So check this video out, and let's begin. So this episode starts with June at home thinking about Hannah, Agnes. The girl has two names, obviously, from being in different places. She questions the color that her daughter was wearing, and Moira says she's out of the pink colored clothes, so that means that she's not in the girl stage anymore of how they do things in Gilead. Moira tells June of a border that has women who get messages into where they have the handmaids at in Gilead. Moira thinks they are a team of crazy women. They're just on like almost like a Suicide Squad type of mission, and they also don't allow men to come to where they're at. So that's kind of a main theme of the show. Men not being allowed. But anyway. So June and Moira meet one of the women at the border named Lily to have her send a message to a commander. She has one of the women that was traded. She was one of the women that was traded for Waterford, or I can't pronounce his name, but Fred that got killed obviously in the previous season. So she was the one of the women that got traded during that time. So Serena and Mark they have a scene where they talk also in this episode. She questions if he is exchanging info with the enemies. She makes a reference to that. He completely denies it, but then questions if she's worried about her reputation. She claims she doesn't want people to get the wrong idea, but she looks kind of worried. This episode had a main theme of her trying to figure out her place in the world now that she doesn't have a husband. Trying to figure out if she's going to, if there's going to be any type of problem there. Moira and June are taken to this women's group in the forest, and all the women are completely armed to the teeth. They have their own. They even have the flag basically upside down, showing that they're against Gilead, which happens to take place in America. So there's that. So yeah, that shows what this type of group that they're dealing with. They have a wall of like pictures of women that they've saved from Gilead, that they were saved from handmaids, being a handmaid and all their stuff like that. Then they also have a wall of women that they unfortunately lost too. So they have congratulating themselves on everybody they saved, and then also a wall of to commemorate the women that they weren't able to save. They're also the name of this group of women in the forest is called Mayday. Lily says Mayday is everywhere. They help these women. They even have members on the inside. They're probably in the Gilead. June thought it was pretty much made up, but it's real. So this whole time she thought this whole team wasn't real, but it's everywhere of people trying to help these women out, and in Gilead who are handmaids and things like that. Serena and Mark go to Lawrence for dinner, but Mark isn't allowed, and then Lawrence makes a reference to him being a spy and saying, "Yeah, you're not allowed to be in here." So Lawrence doesn't even want to talk to him later on. So Lawrence doesn't seem to want to have much to do with Mark. So yeah. Serena meets Commander Mackenzie. He wants to take down June and knows she had help when it comes down to taking down Waterfred. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, because I don't know if it's Waterfred or Waterford. I'm really don't know. I should have looked it up before I did this review. But anyway. So he seems to be the new big bad of this season, the new antagonist. So he's definitely seemed like he's a lot more sneakier, more intuitive. He sort of knows a lot of stuff that's going on, and very, I don't know. He definitely seems like he's going to be a big antagonist this season. He's going to be following every little thing that anybody does in Gilead, because he truly wants to take down June, because he knows that she's going to want her biological daughter back. So, there's that. So he definitely seems like he's going to be more of a personal threat this season, I believe. Aunt Lydia sees Esther in a coma. We already know that in the previous episode, Esther ended up, that's a message I got coming through. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so we know that Esther tried to do some type of, I don't even know if I can say this because YouTube is so weird, but like a tried to basically kill herself and kill Janie. And yeah, so she tried to do that, and now both of them are in a coma. And Lydia goes to see Esther and smacks her, but she seems to feel sorry for her. Then she sees Janie and prays to God to, saying that Janie doesn't deserve it, and she, Aunt Lydia doesn't want God to punish Janie through her, and promises that she'll do things different. She doesn't want God to punish Janie to get at Lydia, and she just talking about how she's going to do things different, and so that's what goes on with Lydia in this episode. The Mackenzies suggest that Lawrence get remarried, but he doesn't seem that he's interested in it. They feel that he may not be a good leader if he doesn't, if he doesn't have a spouse, which is funny because, I guess they could say the same thing about Serena too. So there's that going on. Hanging above the both of their heads is, they both are, widows, Lawrence and Serena. So Mackenzie looked at them like, hey, you guys are going to have to probably figure something out there, or, your place in Gilead is probably going to be in question. So Commander Mackenzie thinks June will get their families. Commander Mackenzie thinks that June is going to come after their families, all because, of course, she wants her daughter back. And, she does it and they don't want that. They want June dead so, they can kind of keep Agnes, aka Hannah, away from her. So they're willing to have June die for this, to get her out of the way so she doesn't get access to Hannah, aka Agnes, or whatever her name is. One of the women in Mayday wants to poison the commander, and June seems to be slightly disturbed by it in that scene where June and Moira are doing some sewing. And I don't know what, I guess that June was supposed to seem like she was kind of disturbed by that, kind of, because, this woman seemed to be so happy that this person is going to be poisoned and have a pretty harsh death, that June seemed to be slightly bothered by it. So maybe June is kind of falling back a little bit on her hatred for Gilead. I don't know what that scene was supposed to suggest, but I believe that's what they were going for. But then the scene cuts to one guy coming to Mayday, and the women just have all their guns aimed at him because no men are allowed there. And a young girl that's part of this rebel group Mayday comes in and stops it. Her name is Rachel, and she completely stops the conflict. He was there to save her, I believe, and he went with somebody, I guess, to go to Gilead to save some women from Gilead. I think that's what they were doing. And he goes back to save his wife and his kid. And, June sees that and she's impressed by it. She's absorbed and surprised by this whole fleet. So most likely we'll be seeing that character again somewhere, I believe. Nick and Mark attempt to talk, about working together, but Mackenzie ends up stepping in. Commander Mackenzie steps in and, of course has Mark run off. And he questions if Nick is trying to rise above the ranks by, marrying Rose. And then he ends up letting him know that basically he's going to be watching him. So it's not going to be easy for Nick to really be sort of helping June out anymore for the rest of this season. Because now he's going to have this guy hovering above him. I also noticed that the guy that plays Commander Mackenzie, he was an antagonist, also like a crooked cop in the Ozarks TV show. So this actor is really good at playing bad guys. So I'm curious to see what type of villain he'll be playing this season. Lawrence and Serena talk, and they seem to suggest they could possibly get married for power. It seems like they were sort of suggesting and hinting at the talk that they had after the dinner. He says that he will protect her and her child, and he ends up rubbing her stomach, and they sort of have a tender moment there. But I can tell that that's what they were sort of similar. They were trying to suggest, I guess, that they two could possibly get married and for power because they both ain't got anybody and they need it. So Mrs. Putnam comes to visit Janie because, of course, Janie visited her actual daughter when her daughter was sick. So, that's what Lydia says. So Mrs. Putnam visits Janie and ends up telling Janie to the baby, Janie's baby, actually, that she's going to tell, her all about Janie when she gets older and make sure that she doesn't forget Janie. So that's a good little relationship they have between a handmaid and, another message, a handmaid and one of the wives. So that was a good little scene that they had. Let me see. Serena brings Mark back to her room, and it seems like she was coming on to him, but he suggests that it isn't safe for her to be where they're at. But she wants to stay, and she wants to stay where she's at. And it seems like she kind of retracted her advances when she's told that she has a meeting next day. So and he seems like he doesn't feel it's safe for her to be where she's at. She sort of retracts it, so she feels like, no, I can't. I believe that she was trying to suggest she can't use him for some type of protection, maybe. But then she claims that, oh, I'm still mourning, so I'm not sure. I had to. That's one of those things where you had to really read between the lines and understand subtext a little bit more. So yeah, I guess that's what she was going for in that scene. June and Nick, they finally are able to talk, and he tells her that her daughter Hannah is going to be prepared to be a future wife, and for the Mackenzies. And then they eventually part ways, and Nick tells June that he has a wife now, so they can't really interact anymore. So they just completely part ways. I love the compare and contrast type of thing going on when they were talking on the phone. Nick was on, he's talking on the phone. He has light behind him. June was in a room and it was all dark. So I kind of like that sort of compare and contrast type of thing they were going on. They had that same thing at the end of episode 2 of this season. So I kind of like that whole compare and contrast type of thing they got going on in that scene, the way it was directed. I thought that was a pretty nice touch. Let's see. Then Lydia sees Janie is alive. So Janie was able to survive this. I already kind of saw pictures of her in the hospital, So I kind of figured she was most likely still going to be alive before this episode came out. So Serena goes to meeting and sees Lawrence, and he thinks she has some kind of expectation of him. Then he apologizes. I thought he was probably going to set her up, but it seems instead of getting punished, she's actually promoted to global ambassador, and she gets a promotion. So that's pretty good on her. And she ends up getting a team of protection around her, and yeah, so she gets promoted. June and Moore question how they would end up protecting Hannah, who's basically with not Lydia, with Serena. Lily tells June that Serena is being brought back to Toronto. So she was in America, but now she's being back to Toronto. Then Serena, she ends up on her way back to Toronto. She sees that she has a bunch of supporters and everything like that, and she's all happy. And then out of nowhere, June's come up to her car door window like a crazed fan seeing Chris Brown or somebody, and she basically threatens her to make sure that she don't ever touch her daughter again. And then that's how the episode ends. So that definitely shows that June is still going to be coming after Serena. And yeah, that was about it. This episode was really good. Very dialogue driven. An episode that had a lot of dialogue and a lot of back and forth and stuff like that. A lot of episode that you had to really pay attention to what they were saying and read between the lines. Not much action in it, but basically a lot more development within the story. So I like that this episode. It was really good. I know I completely fell off on the last few episodes. I mean, so I'm gonna just basically binge watch all the episodes all the way until I can be where you guys are at right now. So yeah, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, share the video for all things The Handmaid's Tale, and thank you for watching my video on Watch Darius TV. So thanks everybody.